Hey, good afternoon. This is Jim Wright. I'm at East Bowman Island Trails again. The last video I said there were waterfalls here, and I found a bunch. I did not find this one. Courtesy to a guy on Facebook who let me know more information about this awesome series of trails. So enjoy this extra addition to Georgia Waterfalls. And here we are. Here's the waterfall that I missed.
Falling water captivates us. We are drawn to it. I have been drawn to it ever since I was young. I have been amazed by its power and peace, its quiet trickle in the cove, and its mighty roar that blocks out all other sound. Its chaos in the stillness of nature. So please follow me into the forest and on gravel roads as we explore the waterfalls of Georgia in a unique way. Georgia on Location Waterfalls will be a guiding video series that will use aerial photography, logistics, and my experiences to tell the story of a waterfall. So let's hit the trail and explore. Good evening. We're going to talk about this waterfall, which I'm going to call it a no-name because I don't know the name of it, on a no-name stream, micro creek, that feeds into the Chattahoochee River near Buford Dam in the Chattahoochee National Recreation Area. I'm going to talk about how to get there, the hike, and the waterfall itself. The waterfall itself is a pretty cool waterfall. I'd probably say it's 25 feet high. The first section, you can see the visible section. There's another section above it, probably another 15-20 feet of a stair-step waterfall. Overall, pretty cool. From what I can gather, it runs year-round. It would take a good rainfall to get it really flowing. So the 2 or 3 times that I've been there recently, it hasn't been flowing very much, but it's still a nice waterfall to see because the area around it is pretty cool. So let's go ahead, let's hop in our car and get to the trail. If you watched the last Bowman's Island video clip, I talked about how to get there. We would leave East Bank Park, which is on Lake Lanier, make a right out of East Bank Park, and you go past Lanier Middle School, and right past Lanier Middle School, you'll go ahead and you'll make a left on the Island Ford Road. And Island Ford Road goes for maybe a mile. And at the end, right as soon as you get to where Island Ford Baptist Church is on the right, there will be a gate and a pull-off. You'll pull off, you'll park there, and that's where our hike will begin. This is going to be our first way to get to the waterfall. There's another way, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Both of them are about 1.2 miles, 1.3 miles in length. I think this one might be a little bit easier. It just depends on where you're going to put in for that second hike. But this one is pretty level on the ridge. The only hard part with this one is when you descend down into the river valley and then you have to come back up. That part's a little tough, but for the most part, this hike's pretty good. Couple creek crossings, so just kind of be warned. Not terribly deep creeks, so you probably get away with not getting too wet, but you are going to cross a few creeks to get to this waterfall. So let's talk about how to get to the waterfall itself. So if we're at the East Bowman Island trailhead, we'll go past the gate and we'll hike for about 0.3 miles, and you'll come up to a junction, and there's all kinds of down trees right at this junction. I like to call this the El Camino Trail. This is not the main trail, or this is just one of the main trails, but I like to call it the El Camino Trail because on this trail there is an El Camino that's in the woods. So that's why I call it the El Camino Trail. So what you would do is you'd make the right at that junction at 0.3 miles. Then you go right and you're hiking half mile and you would get to the El Camino. You're going to keep going another quarter of a mile and you're going to start to descend down the ravine towards the creek, towards the Chattahoochee River. As you get to the bottom, you'll notice that the trail kind of runs into the creek. So you cross the creek, catch up with the trail on the other side of the creek. This is the first creek to cross. When we look at the map, you'll see that there are two creeks, and they kind of meet, they come close to meeting before they go into the Chattahoochee River. The waterfall is on that second creek. So there are waterfalls on this first creek, but it takes a lot of rain to get those waterfalls going. So if you're just out hiking on a regular day, I wouldn't waste my time with that unless you're up for an adventure, because it is off the trail and you are bushwhacking. There's down trees and you're climbing all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna cross that first creek. You'll follow the trail for maybe 100 yards, 50 yards, give or take, and then you'll see a roadbed. And the roadbed will go up the hill, and the roadbed will go down. You want to go down the roadbed towards the second creek. When you get to the second creek, cross the creek, make a right, follow the creek upstream for maybe a quarter of a mile, and then you'll reach the waterfall itself. All right, so the second way to reach this waterfall doesn't deal with East Bowman Island Trail. You actually would go to two ways. You could go to Lower Overlook, which is on top of Buford Dam, or you can go across the dam down into the ravine to Lower Pool, which is where you would go to put in for kayaking, canoeing, or fishing or whatnot. Both of these options are probably roughly the same distance as the East Bowman Island Trail. I think the Lower Overlook would be a little bit harder because you're going down the height of the dam down to the river. It's not far. It's probably about 0.36 miles down to the river, and it's a well-defined trail. Once you get down the hill, down to the bottom of the dam, you cross the road, and then you'll proceed onto the trail. The river, Chattahoochee River, will be on your right the whole time. And then I'm going to kind of splice in video clips on where trail junctions are made.
All right, at this point, we're going to turn right on this little goat path trail. You'll see the U.S. boundary MPS sign. You'll take that to the first creek crossing and then cross the creek. I found this to be the easiest way to cross the creek with the least amount of resistance. So this is where you would cross. Just be careful as you're crossing the creek. Okay, once you cross this little micro creek, you're gonna come up to another fork, and you're gonna make a right to go to the waterfall. All right, as we're making our approach, we come up to the 0.91 miles. You'll see the creek on the right and the Chattahoochee River right there on the right. You'll come up and you will see a fork in the trail. We're gonna take the left of this fork, and we're gonna go a little bit further, and you're gonna run into the creek that the waterfall is on. Turn left and head upstream of that creek, and the waterfall will be about a quarter of a mile, maybe a little less, up that creek.